4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us today as we reveal Path of Exile's next expansion, Lake of Kalandra, which launches on PC and Mac on August 19th, and on Xbox and PlayStation on August 24th. Twitch drops are enabled for today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below to link your account and earn your Wrangler wings.
Czekaj, co? What? Jakieś dropsy?
Here's what you can expect
No
from
tak.
today's
Ale to
live
muszę
stream.
mieć, ale to muszę być w Path of Exile, nie?
Debut the trailer for the Lake of
No jak
Kalandra
ja zawsze mam
expansion,
połączone
and then
konto,
dive
więc...
into its challenge.
No, ale chodzi o to, żeby u mnie dropy
Further
były.
improvements we're making to Path of Exile's
A to
endgame in
nie
this
wiem,
release.
szczerze.
Nie, ale to chyba muszę być w grze, nie? A, czyli w grze jeśli chodzi o kategorię.
We've got a selection of new skill and support gems to reveal and are
Nie
excited
mam
to
dla tego
unveil our
pojęcia.
Chyba
plans
tak.
for revamping 3 past
Masz,
leagues.
wysłałem ci. Co, o co
Then
mi
we'll cover
chodzi?
more details about game balance before revealing this league's new supporter packs and what's going to happen in the lead up to launch next week. Our live stream ends with a Q&A session hosted by Ziggy D, where you can ask me your questions in Twitch chat. Then we'll post the full patch notes for you to check out. But before we show you the trailer for Lake of Kalandra, I wanted to talk to you about ExileCon. Back in 2019, we were ready to announce Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile Mobile, and we wanted to do it with a bang. We filled a venue with thousands of Path of Exile fans from around the world and ran our first ExileCon convention. It was an amazing experience, full of fans interacting with developers, and everyone who attended can vouch for the amazing energy at the event. Announcing Path of Exile 2 on that stage was one of the highlights of my life. Since then, we've been hard at work on Path of Exile 2. Now that we are getting close to release, we will finally be ready to announce the date that the closed beta starts at ExileCon 2023.
W Nowej Zelandii.
We're holding ExileCon 2023 in
Auckland.
New Zealand on the weekend of the 29th and 30th of July 2023. In addition to the beta start date, we'll also be announcing everything there is to know about new game systems, character classes, items, and so on. Attendees will be able to play
wiesz,
Path
może
of
będzie
Exile 2
jakiś
and
streaming,
Path of
nie?
Exile
No
Mobile,
to
see all the presentations
będzie
live,
trzeba,
meet our development
kurwa,
team,
obczaić.
hang out with their favorite streamers, and much more. The first wave of tickets will go on sale in 2 weeks. We'll make a news post tomorrow with more information so that you have time to determine if you're able
Tak.
to attend before the tickets go on
Dropy u mnie.
We are so excited
Nice.
to finally talk about what we've been working on and to let some of you experience the next generation of action RPGs. In the meantime, we have a strong lineup of Path of Exile 1 expansions underway, and today we're proud to unveil Path of Exile Lake of Kalandra, which launches next week.
Zobaczmy, co my tu dzisiaj mamy. Czy to będzie coś pysznego?
Exile, you have wandered far to arrive at the shores of my lake. A hidden realm I have overseen for longer than time itself.
Kurwa, zajebiście to wygląda, szczerze powiedziawszy.
These waters harbor deadly secrets.
Wiesz co mi to trochę przypomina? Z Divinity Original Sin też było coś takiego. Była taka mapka.
Is reflected here.
No.
Co to są za jakiś ten mirror tablet?
But the mirror distorts reality. Beware the
Ciekawe.
image that strikes back.
O! Co to?
4 new gem. 4 nowe gemy? No, unikaty to wiadomo.
Znaczy właśnie unikaty ostatnio zrobią coraz lepsze, więc nie jest aż tak tragicznie.
No. Rebalans? Ponad 100 unikatów rebalansa dostało? What?
No bo wiesz, no bo w końcu poprawiają tą grę,
The
nie?
lake
No.
calls you, exile.
Już jest tyle, że muszą.
You're
No, większość jest bezużyteczna, jakby nie patrzeć, więc muszą coś z tym zrobić, nie?
No.
Chociaż trochę, nie?
Okej. Trailer całkiem, muszę powiedzieć.
No, sama w ogóle ten animacja na początku była tak crispy, że fajnie się to oglądało, chciało się więcej, nie?
No.
In the Kalandra Challenge League, you will travel to the mirrored lake that granted Kalandra her powers of reflection. We want you to experience the story for yourself, so I'll avoid spoiling the details here. When you get to explore the league next week, you'll find out more about Kalandra and her motivations. Your experience with Kalandra so far is probably of a coveted mirror, which duplicates items by reflecting them.
Yep.
The lake itself has the power to reflect entire encounters from elsewhere in Rayclust. As you explore the lake, these reflections emerge from its mirrored surface. Sometimes these reflections are encounters with hordes of monsters, and sometimes you'll encounter extremely powerful foes, reflected from elsewhere in Rayclust.
No.
Often, reflections involve League content, such as this encounter with a Harbinger boss. As you play through the League, you'll occasionally encounter a set of columns protruding from the ground, with a mirrored tablet on top. This tablet invites you to construct a custom set of encounters at the Lake of Kalandra, offering a series of different reflections to place in whatever layout you wish.
O, fajnie.
Each of these reflections represents an encounter that you must defeat when you next travel to the lake.
Czyli to jest takie
Once you
własna
have assigned
mapka
a
do
reflection
stworzenia.
to every
Tak,
location
dokładnie.
on your mirror tablet, which will take a few areas, you can open a portal to the Lake of Kalandra itself. There you will get to experience these reflections of Rayclust as Kalandra manifests each encounter you have chosen. But as you push farther out onto the lake-shrouded waters, you will find each encounter to be more difficult, but more rewarding. This difficulty value counts up by 1 for each location away from the entrance the encounter is.
O,
Players
spoko.
wanting the best rewards will try to engineer tablets that have long, windy strings of encounters, reaching very high difficulty values by the end.
Nice.
To do this, there are occasional options that can be chosen which allow you to move and swap the entrance, reflections, and water tiles on the tablet. Additionally, as you progress through the league, you'll be able to unlock special abilities that let you manipulate the options you have available on each tablet. If you don't like any of the choices available to you, you can earn the ability to skip picking one entirely. The next ability is even stronger. It lets you re-roll the list of options so that you can immediately pick another one.
Podoba mi się, jak na razie.
Finally, you can earn the ability to exile a choice entirely. For the rest of this tablet, that choice will no longer appear. Once you reach maps, you'll be able to itemize your mirrored tablets so that they don't have to be played immediately. They can be stored for later or traded with other players.
Nice. W końcu. W końcu coś fajnego. W
As you
sensie,
visit the Lake of Kalandra to attempt your mirrored
lubię
tablets,
takie
there are many
mechaniki.
types of rewards you can find. An encounter that is based on a past league implicitly grants the rewards from that league, but with extra juice so that you're not missing out on bonuses you'd have obtained if your Atlas tree applied to the lake. Other encounters that aren't based on past leagues generally yield a reward chest that rises out of the lake when you complete the encounter. Certain reflections grant you access to a new variation on rare items, exclusive to the Kalandra Challenge League. When
O,
you complete the encounter, you'll get access to some reflecting mist, which presents you with a difficult choice.
Wait, what?
It generates a rare ring or amulet with an unusual set of mods. Some are very high, and some are very negative, which hurt your character. The item is then duplicated, with a reflected copy having inverse mods. Negative ones are now positive and vice versa.
ciekawe.
The amount that all of these mods are scaled up by is based on the difficulty of the encounter you just completed. You may
W
only
ogóle
pick
plus
one of these
70
items to
lightning
keep.
dressa, da fuck.
No.
It'll
To
often
chudy
be
ile egzaltów?
with each item having its own strong pros and cons.
Znaczy nie dużo,
But
ale
sometimes you'll be offered an item where the negative mods aren't downsides for your build, and the juiced up positive mods are very attractive. There are also some special new jewelry-based types
ale
that you can
dalej.
rarely receive
Holy
from this
shit.
process.
Że w ogóle takie rolki mogą się trafić. Jak kurwa 77 kolca.
One rare and difficult encounter
Sto-
rewards you with an
sto-
advanced
tego
version of this
stręgla.
crafting process. It allows you to bring your own ring or amulet, distorting and reflecting it with the same process described before.
What?
O,
The mods are
nice.
scaled up in value and some are randomly negated. The reflected copy has the inverse set of negations. It will certainly be tempting to gamble with some of your best jewelry to try to double the values that really matter for your build and negate the ones you don't care about. If
To
you're
jest
very
ciekawe.
lucky, you can
Minus
find a special
94% do
exclusive unique ring at
Lightning
the lake.
Resa było.
Kalandra's touch
Holy
mirrors the
shit, ten
effect
ring.
of your other ring.
O, fajnie wygląda.
The Kalandra
Znaczy,
Challenge
kurwa,
League
ten
has something
efekt.
for everyone. It's an out-of-area combat league where you build your own sequences of
Jeśli
encounters.
trafi jakiś
It lets
taki
you fully
ten
dictate your
ring, tak
desired
jak
level of
przednie,
risk and reward and
to
fully
ci
customize what
możesz
content
same
you
ringi
play.
skapować
It
resa.
features a powerful
Holy
crafting system,
fucking shit.
valuable rewards, and offers a glimpse into the lore of one of Path of Exile's most iconic characters. We can't wait to play it with you next week.
O,
In every
to jestem
expansion
ciekaw.
leading up to Path of Exile 2's release, we'll be improving Path of Exile's endgame with new content to explore and new ways to customize your endgame experience. In the Lake of Kalandra expansion, we're introducing Atlas Memories. They aren't a league feature, they're part of the core game, affecting standard and persisting once the Kalandra League has ended. In maps, you'll very rarely find a memory item, which represents a set of memories that an NPC has about their past. Something special happened to them while exploring maps, and you're able to experience those events for yourself. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. In this Atlas memory, Gierek tells you about the time that he stumbled across a staging ground for a
Co to
harbinger
za
invasion of
Gwiezdne Wrota?
Each successive
Znaczy, to
map you
jest
play in the
akurat,
sequence has
boss
more and more
harbingerowy,
harbinger
taki
portals and invaders that you
endgame'owy.
must deal with.
Znaczy portale
This
z
is a
bossa.
memory of Nikos, where he
Ale
entered
fajnie
a sequence
wyglądają.
of maps that were entirely
No,
consumed by
fajnie wyglądają,
permanent
tylko
breaches, like a breachlord's domain.
farmienie tego i
He's
robienie
supposed to
tego
talk
nie
about
jest
it,
aż
but
tak
will you?
bardzo worth.
Right-click a memory and apply it to a completed map on your atlas. It'll mark out a series of adjacent maps that the atlas memory will span.
Uuu.
O,
When you next talk to the relevant NPC in your hideout, they'll tell you about their recollections and will allow you to start exploring the memory. Each map in the sequence is provided for free by the NPC, and you'll be able to roll it like usual before running it.
nice. Lubię, podoba
Because
mi
these
się.
maps are memories of the NPC, they are not affected by your atlas tree.
Holy shit.
However, the content is generally as difficult and rewarding as a fully specialized atlas tree would cause it to be. Each successive map in the sequence gets harder and more rewarding as the memories intensify. While memories are tradable, they're also very rare and valuable, so you'll probably want to complete them yourself if you can. For players who love lore, Atlas memories help expand on the backstory of key NPCs. For players wanting to try out different league mechanics at quite high levels of juice that they haven't specialized their Atlas for, memories let them do this without a bunch of respecking. And for everyone else, Atlas memories are a great way to earn some valuable items, if you're strong enough to complete them.
Nice.
The Lake of Kalandra expansion also contains a new unique map that I'm quite excited about.
O jest.
The Trial Master is back. His
Fuck
boss
you.
from Ultimatum, and more importantly, the unique items he drops, have been sorely missed and will be making a return as the Tower of Ordeal's unique map in Lake of Kalandra. This map
That's-
can be created by completing difficult endgame Val content. We have not forgotten about the rest of Ultimatum and have a specific plan for how it will return in the future.
Nie, błagam.
Whenever we're improving
Yeah.
Path of Exile's endgame, we take every opportunity we can to add new variations of rewards that you can find. We don't want to say too much about how these are acquired, but in this expansion, it's possible to very rarely find special foil versions of any pinnacle boss unique item.
O,
These have the same stats as regular ones, but are certain to be highly prized by collectors or wealthy players wanting to show off.
jak ci się
The
trafi,
Lake
może
of
darmowy
Kalandra
hajs.
expansion contains 14 new unique items. In addition to the Kalandra's Touch ring that is exclusive to the Kalandra Challenge League, we have introduced a new endgame pinnacle boss reward, a supporter unique, the Tower of Ordeal's unique map, 6 new Grand Spectrum
hełm fajnie
draws,
wygląda,
and even some
samuraja.
leveling uniques.
No.
The first we're showing you today is Soul Ascension, a pair of gloves designed by Zizaran. They drop from the Uber Elder. Soul Eater is a very powerful buff, but it is usually hard to obtain in boss fights. This unique grants you the ability to gain stacks of
Tak,
Soul Eater
nigdy
when
ich
you
nie
hit a
dotknę.
unique enemy. It also makes you lose those stacks if you aren't near one.
Nie chcę mi się grindować tych
Ghost
bossów.
Wraith is a leveling unique which allows you to play as an almost pure
Oh.
energy shield character during early parts of the campaign. We'll reveal the other new unique items in this expansion over
Podoba
the
mi
next
się
week.
1C na czacie.
Path of
Oni
Exile
tam
has
wszyscy
a lot of
piszą,
unique items in its core drop
że unikat
Over
1C,
700
więc...
in fact.
Nie no,
We
ten
feel
ring
that
tamten
there
to
are
był
two big
25
problems with
eksów.
unique items at the moment. The first is that you
Napisali.
find too many, and the second is that they
No to
are
ring, to
pretty
wiesz.
useless when you do.
No tak,
Sure, there's
no
some
bo był
powerful
dość
endgame
mocny.
or build enabling uniques that feel amazing to find, but the majority of unique items found throughout the game are rarely actually useful to you.
To prawda.
In
Mój
the Lake of
Starford.
Kalandra expansion,
Chociażby.
we've made a lot of changes here. We have reduced the overall drop rate of uniques throughout the game and have
Wow.
rebalanced and overhauled over 100 existing unique
W końcu,
items, with
dziękuję.
an emphasis on uniques in the core drop pool, including leveling uniques and some endgame uniques. You're going to find unique items less frequently now, but when you do, they're going to be a lot more punchy.
Kurwa, w końcu. Tyle lat czekania.
Nyx's Lantern has been completely changed from the ground up. Previously, it was trying to allow you to play a hybrid attacker and
No
spellcaster,
tak, no bo
but it didn't really
unikaty
work very
miały
well.
być
With
czymś
the new
faktycznie
design,
unikalnym, a nie, że ci padają
delivers
kurde
on this goal by
pierdyliard i
high damage and a
gówno
battle
warte
mage
są.
effect, so that your
No.
weapon damage is added to your spells.
Tak samo jak legendy w Diablo 3, nie? Też się kurde w pewnym momencie padało jak powalone, nie? A to później same gówno.
Kurde, zabijałeś moby, to miałeś pieniądze z legend.
No, dokładnie.
Mi się.
If you find a high rolled one early on, you're probably not replacing it for a long time. Malachi's Simula was trying to deliver the Blood Mage fantasy by allowing you to spend life to cast your spells. This was meant to be special because the Blood Magic keystone was far away from the witch starting location on the skill tree. Unfortunately, this item wasn't really powerful enough to justify its use. It is
Co,
now
ile?
overhauled, and alongside Blood Magic,
10
it grants a
cepok.
powerful multiplicative damage boost.
Piękne.
With over 100 uniques rebalanced in this way, your play experience is now punctuated by quite large bursts of power when you find one. We'll continue to examine the power level and rarity of more unique items in subsequent expansions.
O, w
The Lake
końcu.
of Kalandra expansion includes
Nice.
3 new skill gems
Zawsze
and
na to
1 new
czekam.
support gem. Alchemist's Mark is a new mark skill. Igniting or poisoning the marked target creates burning or caustic ground underneath them, based on the damage of the strongest ignite or poison on the enemy.
O,
The damage of the
coś
ground
dla
effects
mnie.
also scales with Curse and Mark effect, providing a non-standard way to scale your build's damage. Hitting the marked target also refills some of your flask charges. This new skill opens up an extra source of damage for Ignite or Poison-focused characters, especially for Ignite builds that want an alternative to Flame Surge, or Poison builds that cause fewer, higher damage poisons. This high-level build uses Flame Blast, with 100% of the damage converted to Chaos, to inflict huge poisons on enemies.
O,
When Alchemist's Mark is cast on an enemy first, that enemy drops Caustic Ground when it's poisoned, scaled by those big Flame Blast poison hits, melting everything into a puddle. Galvanic Field is a new shock-themed spell. When used, you gain a buff, granting a small bonus chance to shock. When you next shock an enemy, the buff is consumed and the enemy becomes energized, repeatedly zapping themselves and nearby targets, a lot like Ball Lightning.
o. Ciekawe.
If the energized enemy dies, then the energy sits at their location and continues to zap things.
Podoba mi się.
Galvanic Field's area of effect and zap damage scale with the strength of the shock on the target. While Galvanic Field is great for any build that shocks, you can even fully build around it, and use a skill with increased shock effectiveness like Arc to shock enemies and kill them with a ball of death. Lightning Conduit is another new shock-themed spell. A wave propagates out from the
Nie gram
top,
total.
causing lightning bolts to strike
Grałem.
all shocked
Gra nie
enemies
jest
in a
badziewna.
large
Jest
area.
całkiem spoko.
The damage is scaled by the strength of the shock on each enemy. Lightning Conduit cannot itself shock and won't hit non-shocked enemies at all, so the challenge with this skill is to find a way to consistently apply powerful shocks to your targets to make the most of Lightning Conduit's
Ciekawy
high
skill.
damage potential and
Podoba
area
mi się.
effect.
Lightning
This high-level
Conduit.
build uses Wave of Conviction to shock enemies, before casting Lightning Conduit until they're obliterated. For longer fights, it can employ Galvanic Field to create a constant source of lightning damage. Last but not least, Overcharge Support is a new support gem that causes supported skills to deal less damage, but makes them inflict much stronger shocks and grants them a higher chance to shock. Overcharge lets many different lightning skills create powerful shocks. Use this to take advantage of Shock's large damage multiplier, or to activate Lightning
No to
Conduit
takie-
and Galvanic Field.
Znaczy, pewnie do tych nowych skilli będzie...
As Path of Exile expands, we
Oh.
often revisit previous leagues, reworking them so they stay relevant and engaging. In Lake of Kalandra, we are targeting 3 such leagues: Arch Nemesis, Beyond, and Harvest.
Harvest mnie
The
ciekawi.
larger context here is that we've been re-examining what role rare and magic monsters have in Path of Exile. The introduction of Arch Nemesis modifiers as the monster mod pool prompted quite a lot of discussion about how often you should encounter rare and magic monsters, how difficult they should be to kill, and how rewarding their death should be.
Zależy total czego oczekujesz.
Previously,
De facto.
League content made fights hard by spawning a lot of rare monsters. A whole lot. in some cases 6 to 8 times the normal rate of
Holy
rare
shit, te
monsters.
FPS-y tutaj.
Yep.
Now that we have better mods available to make fights against rare monsters individually challenging, we have gone through the whole game and normalized the rate that rare monsters are spawned at. Some leagues had quite large reductions in spawn rate. You won't encounter situations with dozens of rare monsters on screen at once anymore. Alongside this reduction of how many rare monsters you'll face, we have improved their rewards and made sure that they scale with both difficulty of the encounter and any item rarity or quantity
To jest
bonuses
spoko
that you have.
akurat.
During the campaign, you'll only encounter 1 and 2 mod rare monsters. The 2 mod encounters are a bit harder and have better drops.
U.
In maps, you'll stop encountering 1 mod rare monsters entirely, and will mostly encounter 2 and 3 mod rare monsters. It'll also be possible to encounter 4 mod rare monsters again. Not only are the innate item drop bonuses scaled up significantly on monsters with many mods, but we have made these challenging encounters rewarding in another way too.
Mam mieszane uczucia co do tego.
No nie
About a
wszystkie
third
te
of the
mechaniki są
powerful
tutaj
Nemesis
widzę spoko.
modifiers
No.
now use a special reward conversion system. For example, if you defeat a monster with a corruptor mod, all of its drops become corrupted.
O jest.
O mój
Wyjebać.
Boże.
The Solaris Touched mod converts all of its item drops to maps.
Znaczy to jest na przykład spoko.
No, dokładnie, to akurat jest
The
mega spoczko.
Katava Touch mod will cause the rarity of its drops to be upgraded by 1 tier. So magic becomes rare, rare becomes unique, and so on.
Aha.
O, to jest spoko. Ze zmianą...
If you're lucky, you can
Uników
find
to
these
jest
conversion
spoko.
modifiers on both the 3rd and 4th mod of a rare monster. This causes them to stack together. So if you kill a 4 mod rare monster with both the Entangler and Katava Touched mods on it, its heavily juiced drops will also be converted to jewels with their rarity upgraded by a tier. Due to the high amount of inherent item rarity that 4 mod rare monsters have,
Bo
this
widzę,
may
że
result
build
in
bez
several
damage'a
unique
będzie
jewels
to
dropping.
bił 3 lata.
No.
This conversion system is fully compatible with your item rarity and quantity bonuses, as well as the drop bonuses from all other Arch Nemesis mods. Going forward, we want to make sure that a lot more item reward mechanics scale with your character item bonuses. Get your Magic Find characters ready. As a result of this system, when you do encounter a rare monster with many Arch Nemesis mods, you are well rewarded for the difficult fight.
Unik chyba miało być unikalne bardziej.
About the Arch Nemesis mods that can spawn on
No,
magic monsters.
czyli takie mają być.
Too many of them had external
Ale
visual
padają tą
clarity
kupę,
issues
jak
like
widzę.
We have toned these down on magic monsters
Pytanie
so that more of them are
ten.
stat-based
Jaki MF?
monsters that aren't so spammy.
No,
Encounters that spawn a series of magic monsters now make sure to preserve
Wiesz,
the same
to, że
Arch Nemesis
pokazują
modifiers
nam
between the monsters rather than
dany
rolling
drop,
a
no to
different
wiesz,
mod
nie?
for each monster.
No, dokładnie. O, coś się zacięło. O,
This will further help keep the game state understandable in hectic situations. Beyond was
Kurwa, tak
introduced in
dawno.
August 2014, initially as a hardcore-only challenge league. It's 8 years old now and
czym
certainly
było
has several
Beyond
issues.
dokładnie? A, to gówno, Jezu.
Firstly, the art. Have you ever really
Dziękuję.
taken a close look at a Beyond demon? It is literally a bandit from Act 2, dunked in
Nienawidziłem
red
tej ligi.
paint. The second issue is its balance. The number of magic and rare monsters spawned is so much higher than the rest of the game, and whatever problems that resulted in before are magnified now that rare monsters are meant to be more difficult.
rip.
Beyond also spawns way too many unique bosses, which causes its own set of issues. In Lake of Kalandra, we have given Beyond much more than a fresh coat of paint. The Scourge have taken over the realm of the Beyond demons. The old bandit Beyond demons are gone. Summoning monsters from Beyond will now summon Scourge monsters and bosses. We have
O, na
completely
Scourge'a to
rebalanced the
zmienili,
rate
no
that
chociaż
Beyond
tyle.
monsters and bosses spawn at, so that it's appropriate for modern Path of Exile. The new Beyond monsters can now occasionally drop the Scourge League's tainted currency items that allow
No,
you to
spoko,
modify
podoba mi
corrupted
się ta
items.
zmiana. To dobrze, to zmienili.
Tainted Orb Fusing, nice.
We've also
One były
completely
darmo w
revamped
ten,
how
w
harvest
lidze,
crafting
kiedy to
works.
grałem.
Rather than
Jak
being
się to
presented
miało,
with
to
a
miałeś
selection
szansę
of
zmienić
crafting
darmowego
options that must be
6
used
linka przez to.
immediately,
No, no,
receive
no.
itemized tradable life
To było
force of
coś kojarzę.
appropriate color.
Uuu.
This life force can be used later, in your own time, at the hoarder crafting bench in your hideout. Its crafting options are now priced in terms of this itemized life force currency. Tier 4 bosses are now encountered much more frequently and
Wow,
can drop a key to fight a
w
shark.
końcu kurwa.
She yields special life force which can be used for a
Znalezienie
specific set
tego
of
bossa to
crafts.
była męczarnia.
We have rebalanced all harvest crafts for the new system and have removed a bunch of filler crafts and some ones with deterministic outcomes that were incredibly RNG gated before. Some crafts that provided access to exclusive content, like the special offerings to the goddess, have been removed because these items can now be found in more appropriate locations
300
elsewhere
lat
in the game.
czekania się doczekaliśmy.
The result of these changes is that when you complete a harvest, you aren't presented with 30 crafts, which must either be used
Jakoś mocno nie lubiłem tego harvestu, powiem ci szczerze.
Znaczy, Harvest był... W sensie, nie wiem jak nie pamiętam, znaczy... wiem, że jak to wychodziło, to było bardzo OP. Teraz tak to znerfili, że... Jest warte, ale to musisz się znać na craftingu i przy okazji wiedzieć, co robisz.
No, dokładnie.
Tak,
Tego nie lubiłem.
Ja dzięki temu na przykład sobie w tamtej lidze, czy tam 2 ligi temu skrapciłem swoje własne jewele, które były warte ponad tam kilka exaltów, więc dla mnie to było worth, tylko musiałem biegać kurwa 300 lat, żeby to zrobić, nie? Także to było takie... Mogłem raz z tego wyciągnąłem 10 exaltów, a raz nic z tego nie wyciągnąłem.
No.
Jakieś takie...
balance changes.
manifesto, which detailed the many changes we're making in Lake of Kalandra. There are plenty more changes, which we will include in the full patch notes that will be posted after this live stream. But on this stream, I'd like to talk about a few specific areas: minion itemization, exalted and
Trickster,
divine
kurwa,
orbs,
zapomniana
and the
przez
Trickster
wszystkich
Ascendancy
klasa.
class. Historically, minion builds have not been particularly reliant on the stats of their items. Most of the power of their minions came from their skill and support gems. This led to a few problems. Firstly, it gave them a bit of a free ride compared to most other character builds. And secondly, it meant that it was hard for minion players to actually specialize their character to be really, really good. We want to solve both of these problems in this expansion. Path of Exile is a game about items, and that means that you will now be strongly rewarded for finding items that make your minions better. It also means that, like with other builds, if you find good items, you'll be far more damaging and survivable than before. We described a variety of minion changes in last week's Character Balance Manifesto. Today I want to show you the new base item types we have added to help your minion itemization. We've added a new ring base type, the Bone Ring. This ring has implicit minion elemental resistances and can roll minion-related modifiers.
1C.
We've added level 20
1C.
versions of the Convoking Wand, called the
Albo jeden
Convoking
alk.
and Covening Wand respectively.
No.
Like the Convoking Wand, these new base types can roll minion-related modifiers. Some new minion-related mods have been added to the pool available to these wands, and some existing mods have been adjusted or made more common. We have repurposed the bone-themed spirit shields so that they have minion damage implicit mods rather than spell damage.
To mi się nie
and can
podoba,
also
bo nie
roll
lubię
minion-related
minionów, ale
mods.
może być.
Alongside the stable of existing
W ogóle
unique
fajna
items,
zbroja.
there's now quite a lot more base type
A
support
teraz?
for minion
Co
characters.
pokazują? Tą
No,
taką polizonowa?
Mi się podoba.
Kapterek mi się
I
podobał.
also wanted to discuss two of the rarest currency items in Path of Exile: Divine Orbs and Exalted Orbs. These actually have the
No
same
tak.
drop rate, but Exalted Orbs are worth so much more in trade because there's no easy vendor recipe for them, and because they're consumed when
No
you
i co?
craft certain meta mods onto items. Out of these two currency items, we would actually prefer the Divine Orb effect to be rarer, so that unique items with good rolls matter more, and so that players can exalt craft their items more frequently. We are making two changes that will impact this. Firstly, we are changing the cost of crafting meta mods so that they cost Divine Orbs rather than Exalted Orbs.
What?
Secondly,
Może
we are
zablokować
changing the
tymi
6-line
orbami
vendor recipe to craft
modyfikacje
20 orbs of
rolek
fusing
niektórych?
rather than a Divine Orb.
Tak, to jest Metacraft, to już jest od bardzo
This
dawna.
change will result in Exalted Orbs being far more
Tylko, że
available for
zmienili,
crafting,
bo to
and
wcześniej
Divine
kosztowało
Orbs less
Exalty, teraz
available for
kosztuje
rerolling
Divine.
mods on items.
No.
It'll certainly be interesting to see what the de facto trade
Czemu?
currency becomes next league.
Nie rozumiem.
Next, I'd like to talk about the Trickster Ascendancy class. We haven't been happy with the state of this Ascendancy class
Żebyś nie
recently.
marnował
While
exaltów.
it used to be quite powerful, we moved its
Tylko
defining
teraz
feature, Ghost
Diviny
Stars,
będą
onto
bardziej
the main
cenne niż
passive skill
Exalty,
tree.
więc...
Since then, it has had a confused identity and hasn't met the power level of the other Ascendancy classes. In this expansion, we have reworked the Trickster with a focus on establishing thematically appropriate
czyli co
defenses and ways
zrobiliście?
to manipulate speed. One step ahead allows the Trickster to manipulate time in an interesting way. Enemies are slower than normal and cannot have their action speed raised above this value, such as through an acceleration shrine. Conversely, the Trickster is faster by default and cannot have action speed lowered below this value, effectively making them immune to effects that lower action speed, such as freeze, chill, or temporal chains. Spellbreaker ties together spell suppression and energy shield in a powerful way. Spellbreaker grants some spell suppression chance, which is an effect that reduces damage taken from spells. The skill also starts your energy shield recharge half the time you suppress spells. Since trickster characters tend to have a high evasion rating, you will be evading some hits and recharging on others, meaning that your energy shield recharge stays active most of the time. Spellbreaker also further improves defenses by reducing the damage you take from suppressed spells while on full energy shield. For those that want a different way to recover energy shield, the powerful Soul Drinker notable passive is no longer exclusive to forbidden jewels from the Uber-Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds. Any trickster can now allocate this skill. Polymath provides more bonus damage, life, mana, and energy shield on kill for each different type of mastery you have allocated. It reinforces the idea of a trickster being a jack of all trades, and will lead to interesting decisions when planning your passive tree, trying to fit in as many different types of masteries as possible. Overall, the new trickster is intended to be the Shadow's answer to the champion, but faster. He should be an exciting option for players who want to get a lot of evasion, energy shield, and recovery out of their Ascendancy class while still being able to melt enemies. Alongside today's livestream, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Knight and Rogue packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, plus several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available during the Kalandra League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power. The Knight
Dark
pack
Souls.
series contains 6 exclusive microtransactions, including the full Nightmaster
Ten set
armor
jest
set.
zajebany z Dark Soulsa. Mówię
Co ty
ci.
gadasz, tak?
Etheric Mana Flask
Znaczy nie
releases
wiem
a
czy
burst
jest
of
w sensie
mana
1 do
upon
1, ale
activation, then
wygląda
draws
jak
energy from
Artorias.
the environment as your mana
Z jedynki.
refills. The Hoarder's Stash is a stash skin that can be used in your hideout. As you place items in the stash, they hover above it until you're finished, before being sucked into storage.
Kurwa, Artorias.
This is the Nightmaster armor set.
Jest to,
to
tak?
jest,
Nie, to nie jest to.
Wearing its helmet, your actions are
Znaczy to jest to, tylko że to jest wersja female i male, nie?
No.
Kur...
The blood scouring cloak
Może się stylizowali tylko, bo nie wygląda tak 1 do 1.
Znaczy nie jest 1 do 1, ale
No.
wygląda bardzo podobnie.
No, bardzo podobno. No, stylizowali się, to wiesz, stylizować się mogą jak najbardziej.
Znaczy ja nie mówię, że nie mogą, nie, ale to wiesz. Mnie jako gracza Soulsów uderzyło to tak od razu w ryj, nie?
Co mogę powiedzieć? 1C.
No tak, no.
The Warlord's Lieutenant Portal summons a warrior spirit who will greet you, cheer you on, and commend you on your actions.
Jakieś mega fajne nie jest to. W sensie szału nie ma, moim zdaniem.
Nie, akurat nie moje kolory zbytnio. Gdyby było w innych kolorach, no to
The
spoko.
Rogue Pack series has 6 exclusive microtransactions, including the Rogue Stalker armor set. The Beast of Burden Pit visually carries your items for you, becoming more
Kurwa.
laden with bags and packs
Współczuję
the more
temu
full your
psu
inventory
na
gets.
endgame.
Zobacz, jaki jest obładowany. Ale ty wiesz, to jest Doberman, więc...
The Collector Serpent Shield covets the treasure you find.
To się śmiesznie to
Whenever you pick
wygląda.
up an item, the serpent darts out to grab it. This is the Rogue Stalker armor set. While wearing its gloves,
Ładnie
critical
wygląda.
strikes cause blades to appear and slice at
Znaczy
your
taki
enemies.
basicowy, nie?
Nie jest fancy, ale to nie chodzi o to, że jest fancy.
Tak, tak,
Że
no.
musi być fancy.
Znaczy-
o.
The corpse bloom footprints cause exotic plant growth in your wake. The plants especially love corpses and will seek them out and grow in larger patches around them.
Takie se. Znaczy ja nie lubię takich efektów, więc
Kto co lubi, nie? Jak mnie patrzysz, nie?
no.
Widzisz,
On the
jakoś...
other hand, the Undertaker's amulet inters corpses for you, burying them and marking their location with gravestones.
Kurwa, moje FPS-y już płaczą.
No jak masz tam multą tych mobów, kurde, i trupy się
The
padają,
unstable
kurde, to...
explosives back attachment
Nie,
is
nie,
not
ja
for the faint of
podziękuję.
heart. As your
O,
life
dobrze,
gets
ktoś
lower and
napisał
lower,
FPS
it gets
0.
closer and And when you die, your party members will certainly feel it. As I mentioned before, these packs are exclusive to the Kalandra League and will leave the store in 3 months. They're available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1 expansions like Lake of Kalandra. In addition, the supporter packs introduced with a Sentinel expansion are leaving the store forever in 1 week. Now's your last chance to purchase them, and we greatly appreciate your support. Speaking of things leaving the store, the Carrick's Gold
Jebać
Pass
ten
for
Carrick's
Sentinel is
Gold
only
Pass.
available for the next few
Niech
days
to
or
wyjebią.
so, and will leave the store forever when the league ends. There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the league after you've wrapped up your map completion. So if you're pleased with where you got to in maps and Sentinel and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass.
Czekaj, oni prowadzili jakiegoś Battle Passa?
Tak, tak.
Next up, we've got the Q&A
Na
with
skiny.
Ziggy D.
O
As that
mój
ends, we'll post the
Boże.
full patch notes for Lake of
Znaczy,
Kalandra.
to
Over the next
nikogo
week,
to
our
nie
community
obchodzi,
team will
tylko
post teasers for new
jest
and
jeden
revamped
minus.
league items, upcoming
Musisz
quality of life
ukończyć
improvements,
ten
and
mapę
an announcement
No.
from the
device'a,
launch race
żeby
event.
ci się to odblokowało, więc dla
Oj,
większości graczy,
weekend,
jak
we'll
myślisz,
run
to
another set of Twitch
jest to
drops,
useless. Ja
and
nawet,
expect to release the
ja to
mystery
tylko
box
raz
and
kliknąłem,
Carrick's
jak to
Gold Pass in the
weszło
days after launch.
i nigdy więcej tego nie włączyłem, więc
No.
Thanks for joining
Whatever,
us and checking
dla
out
mnie, nie?
today's review.
No.
We can't wait to see you in Raycast
Nieźle,
on August
nieźle.
19th. We'll begin the Q&A in a few moments, so please get your questions ready
pozytywnie
in
jestem
chat.
nastawiony do tej ligi. O dziwo.